Hey everybody, good Saturday morning. It is so great to be back with you all again. It's a beautiful time for the morning briefing. And I've got a lot to go over with you. Grab that hot cup of coffee and let's get into some really exciting stuff, including some observations about these fish all having the same watch or same schedule, I guess I should say. I'll get into that in one moment. But right now I do want to talk to you about the full moon. And so many people have so many different takes on the full moon and what it does to fishing. One of the things they say it does is fishing will surge on and bite really, really well. Others say that you never want to go fishing during a full moon. It's very poor fishing during that time. Of course, you're going to have a lot of movement with water, and fish love that. Some people say white sea bass, bluefin tuna, and blue marlin all love to bite on the full moon, while other fish have a tendency to move great distances on the full. You know, a lot of people think if we're going to get some albacore in here, it's going to be any time now because it'll be right along this full moon and fish will move with it. And also, we also hear time and time again that when it's wide open, it's because of the full moon. When it's lousy fishing, it's because of the full moon. So I don't know where you come down in this. It's just hard to say. I've seen it both ways throughout my entire lifetime. And as we move up on the full here, I think it's the 16th, and we get into another grunion run, we'll see what happens. We'll be able to give you a first-hand account because we will be on board the Amigo on our 2-day trip. I'm super excited about it. We have a lot of options and some time until we get to that trip. If you're on that trip, by the way, please hang on. I want to send you tackle recommendations as soon as possible, but I don't want to send them so early that things change. And then I'm saying, hey, you know that $200 you spent? Never mind that. You need to get blah, 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 blah. So hang in there. We're seeing a lot of yellows at Clemente. You'll hear about that. Not biting very well at all, but that light switch is bound to go on here. Boats will be looking at Tanner Bank in this nice weather, and we have some really nice weather, and it's going to extend right into our 2-day trip. I can see out there as far as Thursday, and as far as the long-range forecast, wow, we nailed this one. We're going to have beautiful weather, whether we're fishing tuna offshore, whether we're fishing sea bass at virtually any of the islands. We are going to have the weather we need. We're going to be out on the weekdays when there is far less boat pressure. I'm telling you, I'm hoping that I'm not setting the bar too high on our 2-day trip, but I'm really looking forward to it as we depart on Wednesday evening. All right, let's talk albacore first of all. You know, I talk a lot about Bob Osborne, and I introduced you to him. At least you heard his voice as he went over all the different comparisons about the water we had in 2008, the water we had a year ago, comparing them to the water we have now and whether or not it looks good for albacore. Another guy who works his finger to the bone is Captain Tommy Holland. Tommy is on the radio. Tommy is talking to all of his commercial contacts, and they're vast. He has so many contacts in the commercial world, and he knows how to get the albacore dope. Well, Tommy has got some very interesting stuff here. There's a bank called the Urban Bank, really famous bank for when albacore first start to move in on a Southern California, Baja kind of migration. So the Urban Bank, if you get fish there, it looks good, okay? It's not a slam dunk, but it looks good. Well, Tommy has talked to a couple of boats. He's got information on the Pikey with J.J. Garrettson. JJ, of course, used to run the Apollo. He's a great captain, a great guy. He had a couple of dozen albacore near the Urban Bank, about 300 miles from San Diego. 300 miles. That is not that far, ladies and gentlemen. And if those fish swim 4 knots in an hour, and they can swim way faster than that, they can do 100 miles in a day. They can swim way faster than that. And if that full moon silliness about fish moving on the full is true, who knows? We might see some of this fish start to filter in. We also have the Millie G there, according to Holland, and he's got a couple of dozen fish. There's a couple of other boats in that same area, and the good news, Tommy says, they haven't been moving very much at all. They've been hanging out in the same area, so they're seeing something they really like there, and they're hanging in there. Now, Tommy's mentioning that there is some slight northern movement, and he thinks it's because they see something else they need to check out in terms of conditions that look optimum for albacore. So fingers crossed, we're getting this incredible information from Tommy Holland, and we are so grateful to you, Tommy, for all of your hard work. No question about it. All right, the Bluefin Tuna Zone, we've been watching that very, very closely for you. And I'll tell you, this is what I mean. Everybody's on the same calendar right now. I mean, the bluefin, the sand bass, the barracuda, everything, the white sea bass. The daytime fishing yesterday was just in the toilet. And it wasn't for a lack of fish. I mean, take a look at this, the Liberty. That's his sonar, lit up with copious amounts of bluefin tuna. I mean, it looked so good. There was boiling fish, there were sonar marks, and it was the same thing over and over and over again. Those fish just flipped their fins at everybody and said, not really interested in biting today. Have a nice day. And so that was the situation. And it was the same for just about everybody down there. I talked to my good friend, Sean Hardigan. He runs the Mission Bell, and he said, man, it was such a frustrating day. We are hoping, said Sean, that fish is going to turn on and get on the bite here again really, really soon. So we'll be watching that very, very closely. But the daytime bite was really, really slow today. Didn't come together at all, or I should say yesterday. Hopefully that thing will pop into gear here on Saturday and start to bite again. Now, that fish, sometimes it's on the fly line, in which case you need 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon. We love www.opsonusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. Get a free gift as well as a note from owner Greg Brown. You got to have that. Definitely want to fish fluorocarbon. And in addition to that, like a 50-pound rod is still a really, really good idea. You want to have that, and you can fish sinker rigs, 4-ounce, 6-ounce torpedoes have been working pretty good when the fish are on the bite. And then also like 80 gram, 120 gram, a little bit heavier than that jigs also. But I'm telling you right now, don't leave those 2-speed reels at home. If you've got them, bring them. You need that 80 to 100 pound. You never know when that fish is going to show up and get on the chew again. That bigger fish is still around. They're still seeing it. And this thing is so fluid and changes so rapidly from day to day. You definitely need to have that heavier tackle. The Condor skipper Scott Mizell saying nighttime is the right time. And perhaps that's what's going on right now. There's some really good nighttime fishing going on. Condor had 31 bluefin tuna for their passengers. 190 pounds was the biggest one. Again, most of these fish are 30 to 50 pounders, but there's some bigger grade in there, and that can change just like that. The long range boys, again, had a good Friday's fishing. That looked pretty good at nighttime. It was very, very good. So hopefully it'll start to bleed back in to the daytime bite also. All right, now I want to kind of take some islands for you and then cover the coast with you. The island situation will start at two of Los Santos Islands off of Ensenada. Some more barracuda there, and some barracuda off University Point for that matter. That's along the Baja coast there. A few yellows at the islands at Tolos, but again, most guys are driving by it. Arnie from Arnie Sport Fishing in Ensenada, still catching copious amounts of nice big bluefin tuna. Trolling those Mad Max around is the preferred method of the Pongueros down there right now, and they just keep doing it. Fun to drive across the border, fun to go down there and eat tacos on the roadside, and fun to jump on a panga. It's always an adventure when you go to Baja California, and more times than not, it is the time of your life. A lot of fun, no question about that. Moving you up now to the Coronado Island, same pretty much. A few yellows there, nothing to write home about. I think at this point, like if there was a big jag of yellows there that were biting, if there was biting fish, the boys would probably hit it after, beating their brains out today. And I don't mean weather-wise. Weather is beautiful. Just seeing all that fish that didn't want to bite. That, I don't know, for a guy running a boat, there's nothing more frustrating than that. You see the fish, you sonar the fish, you even see them visually sometimes, and you can't get them to bite for your passengers. That is a heartbreak. So we'll continue to watch it for you very closely, and hopefully that'll get back on the bite in the daytime. Nighttime, pretty darn good. Now moving up, we get to San Clemente Island. The Freedom was there from 22nd Street Landing. Tino Valentine, the great skipper of the Freedom, said it was tough. They had one big yellow, I think it was, and just tough fishing, even on the bottom fish. Over on the Thunderbird, Jeff was also there, and he saw a lot of yellows, but same result. didn't want to bite. And this is what I'm talking about. You get the trend here. We see the fish, they don't want to bite. There's some light switch, and I've never been able to figure it out in all my years in this business. But sometimes the light switch goes down, and when it goes down, it kind of goes down on all species. Not all the time, but there's something at play here. I don't know if it's the moon, I don't know what it is, but all those yellows that are at Clemente are going to turn on. All that tuna is going to turn on. When is the question? I'm hoping on our Amigo 2-day trip. That's what I'm hoping. But, you know, we're seeing it. That's the first good signal. You've got to see it before you catch it. And Jeff said they saw copious amounts of yellowtail. They had one nice big yellowtail, and also over there on the Freedom, I forgot to mention, 3 halibut, 20 big sheep's head. Not bad. I mean, they were able to put some fish in the sack. Same thing for the Thunderbird. Thunderbird says he's going to be looking at another island today, so we'll see how he does here on Saturday. Hopefully, he'll come up with some more fish. Moving into Catalina Island, there has been some really good sea bass fishing for private boaters. That, too, has all of a sudden backed off. The pursuit turned in 1 yellowtail, 1 white sea bass, 1 halibut. Nothing to write home about, but hopefully that island is going to get back on the bite again. I'm just wondering, is this just all part of that crazy light switch going down? I mean, it's such an unusual coincidence that all these species are not biting as well as they once were. Santa Barbara Island, San Nicolas Island, not really being looked at. Those islands you gotta think are gonna turn on, and the weather is gonna be beautiful, and that has been the key. And then we get you up into the Channel Islands, and that bite has backed off. There was a couple of boats that had limits. Most boats just scratched. I talked to Scott Buchert, who's decking on board the Ranger 85, and Scott said they had a handful of halibut. He wasn't sure about the exact count. He said something like about 7 halibut, 3 white sea bass. One thing Buchert said was they made plenty of live squid on the Ranger 85, plenty of squid. So that is indeed a really, really good sign. And hopefully we'll see more and more fish starting to be taken up there. They're running and gunning up there in the Channel Islands, and there's no shortage of fish. They're still metering it, still seeing it. A couple of boats had limits, so hang in there. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. By running and gunning, I mean, they'll sonar fish, and then they'll tell you to drop, and then they'll see fish off their bow, and they'll run up there, and then you'll drop again. It's exciting fishing. It's like we fish yellows down here, or we fish bird schools of barracuda, or we fish bird schools of tuna. It is exciting sea bass fishing in the Channel Islands. We just needed to click back into gear. Again, a few halibut up there, copious amounts of rockfish, and those guys up there are thanking the Lord above for some decent weather for a change. That is certainly good news, and hopefully that is going to hold. All right, coastal, up and down the coast, improved, no question about it. This water has warmed up and cleaned up. The water out here, Long Beach and San Pedro, is clean, and it's warming up rapidly, and that is producing better and better bass fishing all the time. It was a little different, however, on Friday. It was not the same bite, where those guys like the Victory, the Enterprise, all those guys were limiting on the sand bass. This time it was a little bit more difficult, let's put it that way. Still some good action, don't get me wrong, but a little more difficult. City of Long Beach, 28 guys, 36 sand bass, 27 calico bass, and then they went sculpin fishing, which tells you how their bass bite is, but limits of sculpin, so nice day indeed on the city of Long Beach. Monte Carlo went up the coast, and he found okay fishing. He had a nice white sea bass, about an 18-pound sea bass, and 30 mixed bass, you know, mostly calicos, not bad at all. Fishing the lighter line, choosing a good hot bait, definitely the way to make that happen. The Victory 37 guys had 132 on the sand bass, I believe it was. My handwriting is terrible, but I think that's what it was, somewhere around there. He's been limited out. That's still a good score, still nothing to scoff at, and still a sign that things are headed in the right direction. They've been fishing squid a lot, and a 1/4 ounce lead head, sometimes a little bit heavier than that. Dropper loop with a 2-ounce torpedo, also effective. I like fishing fluorocarbon for sure, and nothing more than 20. That should get you a bite really, really well. You fish 15, you'll get even more bites. But with squid, live squid or fresh dead, you're good with 20, even 25 pound should do you just fine. Will this be the day, Saturday, when the barracuda decide to finally cooperate and bite? I've been calling for it, and my time is running short. I think I've got less than 48 hours now for this prediction to come true. I got the Channel Islands. Remember I said if they got a weather break up there, that sea bass would bite, and it did. The albacore, that's still up in the air. I know a lot of you think I'm loony just thinking about albacore 24 hours a day, but this is literally the second year we've predicted albacore. Partly because I was out of the country living in China, Southeast Asia. So I'm back, I'm predicting albacore. I'm even more convinced that it's gonna happen now. Part of it is, a big part of it is what Tommy told us here at the beginning of this morning's morning briefing. I'm really, really high on that urban bank and albacore showing up there. Hasn't been big numbers yet, but who knows, here on Saturday, maybe later on in the day, things will develop and Tommy will have even more information for us. So let's hope some barracuda move in here really, really fast. Surf fishing has been picking up. Yesterday, we saw some really good surf fishing on the morning update. As you saw, that guy had all those yellowfin croaker. I don't see him here this morning. We're right at high tide, so hopefully he'll show up. Digging up those sandworms has been a good way to go, and a lot of corvina now in the surf. Up there near Topaz Rock Jetty, that has been pretty good. Also, the Long Beach area, throwing lucky crafts, a lot of short halibut, a few legals also in that neck of the woods. Ventura, there's been some barred perch up there in that neck of the woods. So things definitely headed in the right direction, and we are praying for more albacore information. We're praying for all this sea bass to get back on the bite again. Like to see some daytime tuna today for the boys that are leaving at 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m. The San Diego, the Grande, the Malahini, all of those guys, the Liberty. We're praying that they get in on some fish. Tony on the Grande, everybody's nuts about Tony. Says she is one of the best deckhands that you will ever run into. It sounds like a good podcast to me, Tony. If you're listening, yeah, I think you and I need to sit down and spend a couple hours together when you get a break. Probably in like December, right? All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Hey, some new instructional videos. One that I think you'll find very interesting that Sam De La Torre and myself did, mostly Sam, over there at Island Fishing Tackle. The new thing that's catching bluefin tuna. You want to check that out. Poppers. Poppers are the thing again, and they're working really, really well. For everybody who has contributed to the Friedman Adventures family, that means all of you driving our statistics so high. I wish you a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful weekend, and I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy morning to spend some time with me here on Friedman Adventures. Take care, my friends. I'll see you again really soon.